Well, good morning, everyone. We're back for a very, very special episode of NFL Fantasy Matchup. As always, we have Jed over in Chicago and Jimmy over in Phoenix. Welcome, everyone.
Good morning. It's nice to be back after a while.
Yeah, good morning.
Well, it's been a while. The NFL season is over. Many of us are working on our NBA fantasy teams, Super Bowl playoffs, everything like that. But I do want to go through some of the top news that we missed, specifically Tom Brady's retirement. Jed, I'll go over to you. When you look at Tom Brady, and here's some of the things that let me just actually give you some of the 7-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time Super Bowl MVP. 3-time NFL MVP, 15-time Pro Bowl, 8-time All-Pro, NFL's all-time passing touchdown leader, all-time yards leaders, most career wins. Is there another quarterback in your mind that's greater than Tom Brady?
Nope, there isn't. I think it's very clear that he is the great. I would say he's the greatest of all time. I think another stat in there: 22 seasons. He went to the Super Bowl 11 times. That's 50%. That's insane. So I think he's the best. And I love the way he went out. He didn't want a farewell tour. So he had us all believing that, he was going to be back. And then he's like, look, I'm done. And so he got to kind of go off. Now, I personally believe his wife had something to do with that she was like, he cannot go back. I think if not for that and his family responsibilities, he probably would come back. But
I was thinking he was going to come back one more year, right? Like I can see him doing it for one more year just to go after that championship and then leave.
Yeah, but I think that's the problem is everyone, if he came back next year, every single place he went, it would be the farewell tour. So, but anyway, what an amazing career. I mean, I personally, to me, like greatest of all time.
You know what the interesting thing is? I don't know if you guys realize he won at the beginning of his career, he won 3 Super Bowls. Then there was a gap of 10 years, and then he won another 4 Super Bowls, right? Some people would have given up after that 10 years and just have retired. But the fact that in his later life, in his late 30s and 40s, that he was able to win another 4, I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, and the other thing I like about Brady, too, calling him the greatest of all time is, obviously he has the physical traits, but he's not like this. You really feel like it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of study. It was a lot of figuring out his craft, which is really impressive. It's not like he was like a Derrick Henry who's just naturally physically better than everyone else. Like I feel like Brady really earned it.
Yeah, I agree.
Jim, I think a lot of times when you think about the NFL, for the longest time, Payton was one of the stars. Brown was one of the stars in terms of running back. And the Mount Rushmore of sports, you have Michael Jordan there, you have Muhammad Ali. Does Tom Brady now replace one of those guys on the Mount Rushmore of sports?
Who was it I was talking to? I forgot which ESPN network they were talking about. But they said if you look at the Muhammad Ali of sports, you would look at Jordan, you would look at Tiger Woods, Muhammad Ali, and then you put Tom Brady on there as well too.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, I think the Mount Rushmore of sports, though, also takes into play kind of like their space in culture and like how much they've influenced culture and how well known they are outside of the sport. And actually there, I think Tom Brady, maybe to his credit, he was so focused on being a football player. You don't really hear a lot about him outside of that. So I actually wouldn't put him in that space because he's not a one-word name guy. He's not a Jordan. He's not a, Ali. Like he's not there yet, in my opinion. But sports-wise, yeah, definitely. But not in terms of the whole culture and all that.
Yeah.
Jim, fantasy-wise, was Tom Brady one of your favorite quarterbacks? Or is that someone that you chose all the time? Or where does he rank in terms of your fantasy quarterbacks?
Yeah, it's. I don't know about you guys, but I think for me, especially towards the latter end, I never chose him. Partly just because, like, once he got to his late 30s and 40s, I was like, every year I was like, oh, most likely this is going to be the year he's not going to do well, right? And actually, he's really surprised us. Even this past year, if you think about it, like especially the first half of the fantasy year, he did great. I mean, he averaged somewhere between 15 to 25 fantasy points every year. Whereas if you look at people like Drew Brees and Peyton Manning towards the last 2 years, really the last year of their career, I mean, they significantly went down. And so I think that's me, right? Like, but if you think back on it, you could have gotten a Brady for like $8, on the draft auction, but I just never did.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I had Brady maybe once or twice in the 20 years I played fantasy, but the main reason is because I really like the quarterback wide receiver tandem. And Brady never had it. The one time I had him is when he
Randy
had Moss.
Yeah.
Right. And so, which actually, if you think about it, is another credit to Brady, is he did all of that without ever having a true superstar beyond Moss. He had Moss the 1 year, and they had the, the undefeated season and all that. But that's why I didn't draft him for fantasy.
Yeah.
Jet, one last question for you. In looking at the Tampa Bay team coming next year, reports are saying that Jameis Winston might return back to the Buccaneers. Curtis Godwin will probably be out. Antonio Brown is out. Leonard Fournette may be a cap casualty as well, too. Mike Evans, what do you think? Gronkowski, what's your outlook on this? I know it's early. What's your outlook on Tampa Bay Buccaneers for next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to have a drop off. Obviously, I mean, I think Brady covered a lot of their issues, especially with their line too. But yeah, depending on who they get in. I mean, Winston, I don't know. I like Winston for fantasy as a backup for fantasy. I don't know about actually getting him to the Super Bowl. I feel like turnovers still are a major problem with Winston. And so, but we'll see. I mean, they aren't that far off. I even heard a rumor about Rodgers considering Tampa Bay, which would be crazy.
Yeah. Well, speaking about Aaron Rodgers, Jim, and let me go over to you. Aaron Rodgers, there's a good chance he may leave at Green Bay. And it looks like, his Devontae Adams will be a package deal. There's a good chance. What team would you predict that he'll end up in? Is it Green Bay or somewhere else?
I think it's Denver, right? Like, I feel like if you look at everything first of all, I think we've agreed Aaron Rodgers is a diva, and if I was Green Bay, I was like, forget it. Go do your thing. Because if you don't want to be here, we don't want you. Now, I do think that once the offensive coordinator left, two of their offensive people left, one to the Bears and one became the head coach of Denver. I do think that was an indication that Denver's going to go hard after Aaron Rodgers. And my guess is Aaron Rodgers is looking at the Tom Brady's of the world and said, I'm just as good or even better than Brady. How come I only have one championship, right? So he's going to force his way to a place where he thinks he's going to get championship because he doesn't feel like Green Bay is going to be that place.
Yeah, let's be honest. I think Aaron Rodgers, first of all, is a jerk. But second of all, he knows if he doesn't get another championship, people are going to always say, this guy never lived up to his
He's not in the top tier of the quarterbacks. Yeah,
exactly. So he wants a championship bad. I do think Denver is the place. And if he goes to Denver, that is going to be an instant contender. Good defense, excellent wide receiver core, especially if they bring in Adams. I mean, can you imagine Jerry Jeudy and
what's his name?
Cortland Sutton as the number 2 and number 3. I mean, they'll be dominant. So it'll be a really strong team.
Yeah.
Hey, but don't forget someone like a New Orleans Saints, where you still have Kamara, you still have Michael Thomas, you add in Devontae Adams, something like that. That's a pretty good team right there for New Orleans, or even
Kamara's going to jail, man. Kamara's in trouble.
Oh yeah, after he
knocked someone out in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Did you see that, Tom?
Yeah, my prediction with Kamara, it usually happens. He's going to get probation community service, and then he's going to be suspended 1 game from the NFL.
It depends on how serious. It looks pretty serious for this particular incident. So I don't know if he's going to get off that easily.
Yeah. All right, Jim. A couple of head coaching hires. Let me read all off them. Bears, Matt Eberflus. Broncos, Nathaniel Hackett. Giants, Brian DeBoer. Raiders, Josh McDaniels. Vikings, Kevin O'Connell. Jaguars, Doug Peterson. Dolphins, Mike McDaniel. Texans, surprisingly, Lovie Smith. Saints, Dennis Allen. Does any of them stick out to you as they're going to change the course in a positive or negative way for the organization?
No, I mean, I don't know about you guys. Like, I wasn't too, and maybe it's because right now we're moving into this era of coordinators, right? We went through an era of like hot college coaches and And so all of the old guard of these coaches are essentially gone, and now you're going after these new, young, hot assistants. And I mean, it's fine. I'm not too excited. I think we talked about it. I really wanted Harbaugh to go to the Bears because I think he would have really kind of been good for the Bears. I wish actually he got back to the NFL, but I don't know. Time will tell. I did sometimes feel like Houston had to kind of promote an African American just because the NFL is in such deep crap with all the stuff going on with the Brian Flores trade situation. But that's where I stand with it.
Yeah, the one for me is Josh McDaniels, obviously coming out of New England, and this is his second try at head coaching. I'm curious to see, because we know he has the offensive mind, and in Las Vegas, they have the talent there. You look at the offensive talent, and if he can kind of put that together and make it be consistent, if he can get Derek Carr to be consistent, that could be an interesting team to watch.
But did you hear the rumblings that a lot of the Vegas players really didn't want a new head coach with a personality? They wanted to keep their guy who was the interim coach because they really liked him, right? So I don't know, like the rumblings, like they're essentially. They're Vegas, right? So they need a personality, but there are times where I was like, a Josh McDaniels type of personality may rub some of these guys the wrong way.
Yeah. Look, I continue to be concerned about the the New England system and all their coaches. They always come out of the Bill Belichick system, and they want to be like Bill Belichick. They want to create this culture. We saw that with Patricia. We've seen that with Joe Judge. It just doesn't work. And so I think a lot of times, hopefully the second time around, we saw that it did not work with the Tim Tebow experiment that Josh McDaniel had in Denver. And so hopefully he's learned it. And they do have a good system. You look at Hunter Renfrow. You look at who's the running back over there?
Josh Jacobs. Yeah.
Josh Jacobs, all those guys like that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think Vegas, the interim head coach that they had was not a personality. And I think that was actually really good for him. And he was able to get the best out of their players. Now you're bringing in Josh McDaniels. And he is bringing some good coordinators, right? I just don't know if it's going to be interesting to see how the players will buy into a system like that and a personality like that as well, too.
Jed, for our home team, Matt Eberflus, were you excited about him? Were you saying, wow, I wish I had gotten someone else? Jimmy said that he wanted Harbaugh. What did you think of Matt Eberflus?
It's fine. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, so I don't know who the guy is. So it's fine. We'll just see how he does. Hopefully the key is Justin Fields. It's all about Justin Fields next year. If he can develop him, we're going to have a good team. If he can't, then he's going to be gone. So that's, but I'm glad they made a change. No matter what, I'm glad they made a change. I think it was time, and let's see what happens.
The Bears have always
social media. Jed, social media has been calling Matt Eberflus Matt Eberlus.
Okay, hopefully it'll be maybe Matt Never Lose. Then that would be good.
Well, so here's the thing: the Bears actually have benefited from their defensive guys being coaches, right? The Lovie Smiths of the world, and if you look at the offensive guys, outside maybe Ditka, right? But if you look at Trestman, if you look at John Fox, if you looked at Matt Nagy, guys who were brought in specifically for offense to try to fix their quarterback never did well in the Chicago system. So maybe, like Indianapolis had a great defense. They were taught all under Frank Reich. So you never know. Like he might actually turn out to be pretty decent.
Hey, a couple of news and notes before I want to talk about the Super Bowl as well too, guys. All right. Jimmy Garoppolo expected to be traded in the offseason. I'm going to read all these. And I would love for you guys to comment. Rob Gronkowski return still on the table despite Brady's retirement. He came out and said he would love to play with someone like a Joe Burrow. Calvin Ridley has come out and says that he's looking potentially for a fresh new start, maybe from a fresh new steam. Lamar Jackson is expected to exceed $40 million on his next contract this offseason. Jameis Winston also is looking to be replacing Tom Brady, maybe. NFL Network reports that Russell Wilson's trade is probably not out of the window. There's a good chance that he'll do that. And Debo Samuel is still sticking at wide receiver instead of moving to running back. And Kyle Murray unfollowed the Cardinals on Instagram and Twitter. Thoughts on any of these?
That's big news here in Arizona. The Murray situation, that's like all over the news. And everybody who I was watching here are saying, like, what happened? Why all of a sudden? And it's because they're saying he wants to be paid. Like, and the Cardinals won't pay him because they said, we brought you in and Hopkins in to win a Super Bowl during these first years when we don't have to pay you, so we can afford playing all these other players. And the fact that you're coming to us now when we haven't even accomplished that, and you want to be paid, like, that's not happening. So I think that's where they're frustrated at each other right now.
What was the Tommy? What was the second one you said?
Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, that was. Oh no, Calvin Ridley. That was the one. I think that's the
Calvin
big
Ridley,
one that
yes.
sticks. Yeah, that's the big one that sticks out to me because Ridley, you guys, we all forgot about Ridley, man, and he's top five wide receiver, and so that one is big because if depends on where he lands. I'm gonna be watching that one closely because people forgot this guy is dominant.
Yeah, I do think there's going to be a lot of moves this offseason. Partly because, look, NFL network contracts are starting to come together. These players are realizing the power of social media can get them paid, and they're going to want to get paid sooner rather than later.
Another one you didn't mention, Tommy, is the who's going to take over for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, because that's not a bad situation if you look at that offense. Even I guess if Devontae Adams isn't there, that's a major problem. But they still have a good running back situation, and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. To me, Russell Wilson coming back to Wisconsin, that makes a lot of sense. And if he went back there, I could see him doing well.
Yeah. Hey, Jed. Calvin Ridley. I really want to know what happens with Calvin Ridley because I'm trying to figure out whether I need to keep him on my keeper team or dump him. So far right now, I'm still leaning toward keeping him.
Dump him because I want him.
Yeah. All right. Let me see a couple of things here. You know what? I am completely off for those who are sitting here listening because I am on my old computer and all my settings that I usually use for when I do all these things are all off. So I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to look at my notes on the phone. Super Bowl injuries. Let me talk with you a little bit about it. Rams coach says Darrell Henderson will probably end up playing in the Super Bowl. His knee looks good to go. Tyler Higbee as well as CJ Uzoma, both of the starting tight ends for both teams, are dealing with injuries, have not practiced. Jim, let me start with you as well. As you look at the Super Bowl, who are you thinking? Where's the top highlights news of the day in terms of these injuries?
I think who is it? I think everything that you looked at, right, it's going to really depend on two places: the defensive line of the Rams and the offensive line of the Bengals, right? Because that's really, I feel like, where, I don't know about you guys, that's really where the game is going to be decided on. The only thing that concerns me about the injury to the tight end of the Bengals is if the line cannot hold up, you better make sure those wide receivers can get out there, or Mixon is out there to dump that ball, because you don't now have the safety net with their tight end going out there. And if you looked at Uzoma this year, he actually was pretty beneficial to Joe Burrows, right? And so that's my biggest concern, is who's going to fill in for that tight end role if the line's not going to hold up for them.
Yeah, by the way, for those of you who didn't get it, make sure you sign into Tommy's prop bet for charity. So we've got a nice little prop bet thing. I don't know if we could put up a link or something, Tommy. That would be cool. But make sure you sign up. You just got to bet on 10 different prop bets, and then whoever wins will get, I think we said, like, what, 250 to charity or something like that. 350 to charity. Very generous of Tommy, putting his fantasy winnings to good use. I would just say, for me, I agree. I think this, as all Super Bowls, they're won in the trenches. So the line is a really important thing. I think what's interesting is to think about what players that you do not expect to do well, will do well and potentially decide the game. And for me, I'm cheering for the Bengals. The person I'm looking at is T. Higgins. I think there's going to be a lot of coverage on Jamar Chase. And like to your point, I think Uzoma, the tight end, he might be a little gimpy. I expect T. Higgins to have a big game and to be a really deciding factor. I think the Bengals can pull it off. And that's who I'm cheering for.
But I will say, Jed, I mean, look at the line. Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, right? And then you got Jalen Ramsey roaming around out there covering, most likely Jamar Chase. I mean, that's 3 big studs who are actually legitimate MVP contenders for the Super Bowl coming at you. And the fact that in the last couple of games that Cincinnati has allowed, 5 to 6 sacks a game, I mean, they're going to go hard after Burrows.
Yeah, but I think, to me, you just look at the last game. I mean, the Rams in the last game, did they even have a sack? I mean, it was tight, right? So I'm not saying that's not a good line. It is, but everybody knows that coming in. And so I feel like the problem is most teams, when they have to deal with an awesome defensive line, they have to keep their tight end in. They lose their offensive production. But Cincinnati has enough weapons where even though they're staying in, even though Joe Mixon might need to chip in and pass block, they still have enough weapons to score. So I don't know. We'll see. The Rams are 4-point favorites. They opened as 3.5 point favorites, so it's moved up, which means most people are taking the Rams.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I will say, if I had to put a prop bet down today, I will say that the Rams will be ahead than the Bengals at halftime, right? Because, I mean, it's typical. They did that with the Titans. They did that with the Steelers. They did that with this last game against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
They're pretty, right? Like, so they're going to go into halftime with a deficit, but they're usually pretty good about making changes and then in the third quarter coming back. So I can see that happening again in this game.
Yeah. And Jed, I really believe, I really love your pick in terms of T. Higgins. I think what's going to happen, what Jimmy said, the front 7 is going to start coming in. Joe Mixon is going to be bottled up. With Uzoma out, you're going to need an extra tight end blocking some of these guys. Jalen Ramsey is going to be covering Jamar Chase. For the majority of the time, that frees up a T. Higgins. That frees up a Tyler Boyd to really be able to be free. On the Los Angeles side, I'm not sure what you guys think. You're going to have Sony Michel. You're going to have Cam Akers. You're going to have Darrell Henderson, all those guys. But your key guy is going to be the short passes over to Cooper Kupp. If Matthew Stafford continues to do what Cooper Kupp continues to do all season long and do those short passes, and then from that point on, free up Odell Beckham, free up Von Jefferson, you're going to be in a long day for the Cincinnati Bengals there.
Yeah. And don't you guys think that at the end of the day, I feel like the Rams have more pressure on them to win the Super Bowl than the Bengals, right? Like if the Bengals lose, it'll be sad, and I'm sure that they won't be happy about it. But they're a young team. Rams have so much. They're in their home stadium. They get the home crowd. Matthew's supposed to be the savior. They brought in all these guys like OBJ and Von Miller and Jalen Ramsey. They have to win for them. I mean, the pressure's on for them to win this game.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I agree. I do think there is more pressure on the Rams, and that's an interesting point. But I will say this: if the Rams win, I disagree with you a little bit there, Tommy. I think it's not Cooper Kupp. I think it's OBJ, and I think that Odell Beckham could really produce. I think this could be the turnaround story for Odell Beckham. People will realize I think he's better than Cooper Kupp. I know Cooper Kupp had an amazing season.
Really? Okay.
And I know he was, to me, it was a perfect situation for him. But if you look talent wise, OBJ is the guy. And when you're in the Super Bowl, talent is what wins out. And I think they're going to bottle up Cooper Kupp, but they're not going to be able to contain Odell Beckham. And so if the Rams win, that's the guy that I would bank on.
Yeah. Yeah. Odell Beckham, I'll tell you that he's in a really good situation. I mean, if they win the Super Bowl this year, I mean, that guy, he's going to have. I mean, he can stick it to the Browns. Did you know he's also being paid in Bitcoin too? Yeah.
Man, I just heard. So I've got on one of our teams, we've got a intern who converted into a research analyst. So it's like the lowest position. And he has a thing where his paycheck instantly gets converted into Bitcoin, the whole paycheck, because he's living at home. I was like, wow, that's pretty smart.
the three of us can't do it because we all have kids we got to take care of.
Yep. Hey, I've been putting $50 a month into Grab. No, $50 a week into Grab. And look, I mean, I don't have a lot. I don't have the opportunity to put in my entire paycheck in there.
Tom, you know how you've been putting $50 a week? I've been putting I've been putting money into Shiba, and now I'm up to 200 million shares of Shiba.
Wow.
Interesting. Hey, let's go through a couple of prop bets. Let's do something fun because before I want to talk with the NBA, before some of you guys need to go. Couple of things. Jim, I'll start with you. How many touchdowns do you think Jamar Chase will get?
I will say one. I think they're gonna do. I think they're gonna cover him all day. They'll get one, but I think you're right. I think T. Higgins. If there's anybody, I would bet on T. Higgins getting more touchdowns.
Jed?
Oh, I don't want to give away all my prop bets, but I do agree. I think Jamar Chase is so talented, man, and I so regret, man. Your wife did a good job getting him with that trade. It worked out for her because I listened to all the preseason reports about his drops, and that was a mistake because this guy is a stud. So I think betting on him to get one touchdown makes a lot of sense.
Actually, Jed, can I intercede on that one? I thought Charlene, Tommy's wife, was the dumbest person in the world when she made that trade. Because I remember I was going to veto it because I was like, you guys are taking advantage of her. Now I look back on it, I was like, you know what? That was actually a pretty smart trade she made.
It was Mahomes for Chase, right? I think.
Yeah, it was Mahomes, two players, but really
it was Mahomes and Clyde. I think it was Mahomes and Clyde Edwards-Helaire for Chase, and she got someone else too.
Yeah, but Chase alone. I mean,
Russell Wilson. It was Russell Wilson.
Yeah. Chase alone is going to do it. Chase is worth it. Chase is.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, and like I look at my keepers right now. You guys know, that's my wide receiver is a position that I'm like weakest at. I have DK Metcalf, and Metcalf did not do great. And if Russell Wilson leaves, I just don't know what's going to happen with him. So it's a tricky situation.
Yeah. Try to trade Charlie for Chase right now.
Hey, but seriously, she did well. If you look at that trade, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Patrick Mahomes for Jamar Chase and Russell Wilson. Pretty good trade.
That is actually a really good trade now.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. You never know fantasy. That's why I love it. I mean, you just don't know how these, because at that time Chase wasn't doing that great. He was starting off a little bit slower. T. Higgins was a little bit more involved, and then he exploded in the second half. So
yeah.
All right, Jed, one thing, since you didn't want to go through our prop bets, our other intern, Justin Wong, came up with another series of prop bets some of the more popular ones that doesn't go into our list, but let me go through with you. And let me Cooper Kupp will have a 50-plus yard touchdown reception. Yes or no?
Oh. That's a tough one. I mean, you heard what I just said, so I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. Yeah.
Jim, will Joe Mixon or Cam Akers have will exceed 100 yards in rushing?
Yeah, I think so. At least one of them. One of the two. Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, Jed. Who's going to have more passing yards, Joe Burrow or Matthew Stafford?
Oh, Burrow. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. I think Burrow.
Yeah. Because they're going to be down, right? So they're going to force him to pass that ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jim, who will have more touchdowns? Cam Akers or Joe Mixon?
You know what? I think I'm going to go with Mixon because he's the only real one on that team. Whereas with the Rams, you have Michelle, you've got Henderson, and you've got Akers. So I'll go with Mixon.
That's a good point.
Jed, how many commercials will Peyton Manning be in?
Let's see. We've got Nationwide. We've got what is his other ones? I'm gonna say, let's say 3, and I'll love them all. I love Peyton. I did not like Peyton Manning as a player. I thought he was a little bit of a diva. Like, I did not like him, but now that he's retired, I love everything he does. I heard he extended the contract, the Peyton and Eli thing on Monday nights. I love watching him. I think he's great.
Yep. And Jed, he's extending it not only to NFL, but now to college football and also with PGA golf as well too, and the UFC.
Oh, I know. I didn't hear that. Oh, that's
Yep,
great.
yep.
I think he'll be great.
Hey, would you
Well,
want to see those guys at an NBA basketball game? I would love to see those guys do an NBA basketball game.
yeah. But I think it's also the personality. So baseball is going to do the same thing, but they're going to do it with A-Rod and the announcer for the Yankees. I forgot his name. I just don't think it's going to be as good. Like Peyton and what do you call it? Eli makes it. I just think their banter is actually pretty funny. I just don't think A-Rod has it.
Well, and it's interesting. A lot of people are saying Tom Brady, he'll be a commentator somewhere.
Yep.
I don't know if Brady's going to translate. Anytime I hear him speak, and he's got that high pitched voice too, I'm kind of like, I don't know.
Dan Patrick keeps lobbying for Brady and Gronk to do something together, similar to Eli and Peyton.
That would work. I agree.
Because he keeps saying Gronk is going to go nuts and say the most ludicrous thing, and it's going to be up to Tom to bring him back in.
I could see that. That actually would work because Gronk is hilarious. So that could be a good. I like that.
Yeah. Hey, in our last 5 minutes, NBA trade deadline today is 3:00, and so hey, Jed, I've really enjoyed building my keeper team. Right, I've been making trades back and forth. I now have on my team Doncic, Jokic, Giannis, as well as Durant. So I've been very happy with my team.
Oh no, your team is stacked. You've I kind of don't like the fact that people have been trading you these superstars. So you just need Durant to get healthy. You got a really solid team for a long time.
Yeah. Now I have completely killed my bench because I've traded away everyone. So I'm sitting there picking people from the wires at this point.
Yeah. But I mean, they score points for you. So, and I mean, it's almost like the Rams. You go in all in right now, and hopefully you can recuperate later on with some additions on your bench.
Yeah. Do you think, Jim? Do you think James Harden's going to be traded for for Simmons today?
It seems right. Like as we were going through this, another article popped up that says he's really pushing hard. I will say I think Harden is going to be traded before Russell Westbrook is. So, okay, now can I just say, guys, now I know why the Durant, Harden, Westbrook team didn't work out because those three can't survive with anybody else.
Yeah, it's unfortunate these guys can't, figure out how to play together because talent-wise, you think it would work. But, we'll see. I mean, it's an interesting, the NBA has been really interesting this year.
Yeah, Jed, have you been watching all the other Sabonis over to the Kings? Halliburton, everybody was surprised. Halliburton, they dumped Halliburton in favor of the Aaron Fox, McClellan over to New Orleans. Who knows what's going to happen to Zion Williamson? Well, things are changing a lot of times in the NBA.
Yeah, no, CJ McCollum, people don't realize because he was over on the West and in Portland, he didn't get a lot of coverage. That guy is a stud. Like CJ McCollum is awesome. Like if I'm Zion, I'm thinking, hey, I definitely got to think about this because that guy can play. The other person though, that I think is getting lost a little bit in the shuffle is I mentioned to you is Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield can play, man. That guy can score, and so we got to see what's going to happen in Indiana with him. He's a former Sooner, so that's why I followed him. But the trades were interesting. There'll definitely be some change. The Zion Williams things is killing me though, because I'm still like I thought I dropped him, right? Nobody has him in our keeper league because it's like, when is this guy going to get his head together? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think he wants to be
correct.
Word is he wants to go to New York.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. All right. Hey, we're probably going to come back when free agency starts. We'll definitely come back during the draft time. So it's good catching up with both of you guys again. And thanks for joining us at NFL Fantasy Matchup.
Hey, what's your pick? Everyone, what's your pick?
Oh, yeah. Rams. I think.
Oh, Rams. That's right.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bengals.
Yeah.
What about you, Tom?
Really? Yeah, Rams.
All right. We'll see. Maybe we should.
Rams.